So with no further ado, let me please introduce our speaker, Matthew Mengerink. I'm told he's never been a Toastmaster before. He does speak publicly about 4 times a year. And he says that the largest audience,
More than that.
I think you're referring to outside of PayPal. His largest audience he's ever spoken to is 8,500 people, which is the entire company of PayPal. He doesn't consider himself a speaker. In fact, Scott Thompson was so unhappy with his presentation skills that he made him go to a class 2 times. So please, let's give a warm welcome to our speaker.
Well, thank you very much for coming. It's sort of interesting. He said it's a bigger room for a bigger speaker, and I'm wondering, is he calling me fat? I'm working on it. I really am. The topic of conversation today is one of becoming great, and it's something that I think is top of mind for me based on the organization we have. If you look at the backdrop of PayPal, PayPal is becoming a great place. It's growing tremendously, doubling every 3 years. If you look, when I started some years ago, there was about 55 people in technology. We have 2,700 people in technology now. So this is just this rocket ship growth. Amazing opportunity, and amongst that, when you have a great company, behind that there has to be great people. And really, there is no great company that doesn't have great people behind it. And I'm certain that the great people are in this room, that the great people are being developed within the company. And I think it's imperative that we ourselves grow, and it's imperative that we grow others around us. And that doesn't matter if we're a manager, or a leader, or anything of the like. This is an opportunity for everyone. So the conversation is going to be on becoming great. With that, you have to have a disclaimer. I'll give you guys a minute to read this one. See people almost done.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right. So it would be extraordinarily arrogant of me to say, oh, I'm a great person, or a great speaker, or a great this or the other. I don't feel it. I have 5 children. They remind me every day that I'm not great. A wife of 20 years, and it's twice a day for her. So there's nothing of this that is supposed to be anything other than I've been around greatness. So long ago, I was taught by Mengerink, otherwise known as Dijkstra, one of the greats in the field. I've seen people who have achieved the highest level of achievement. I've been around those folks, and I've been very inspired. So I've learned a thing or two about how people become great, but not in any way, shape, or some form saying that I am. So what is greatness? It's kind of a nebulous term, right? Nebulous concept. I'm great. Kind of sounds funny too if you said, oh, I'm great. That sounds terrible, right? But if we look at this concept of excellence, of achievement, of the extreme edge, we can examine some of our history. So we go to the ancient wonders. And without question, these have stood the test of time. They're marvelous. Even in their dilapidation, even in their age, you see something that was incredible. It was an achievement of mankind that has just been around for so long. It's remarkable that it made such an impression. When people look at some of these things like the pyramids, people to this day wonder, how did a civilization achieve this type of thing, given the science, the tools, the technology of its day? It's almost anachronistic. I mean, it's been a mystery for a very long time. There have been people who've built pyramids by hand, trying to figure out how to reconstruct it. But think about all of the years that we've taken studying this to try to get an example. And we still don't know. But what's recognizable is that if it's one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world, clearly that stood the test of time. It was something great. We have modern greatness. There's these various lists of the 7 modern wonders of the world. These wonderful achievements. And it's funny, it depends on which culture you read it from. So unfortunately, the languages I speak, search results come up with these types of things more so than others. I'm sensitive to that. But you see things that certainly people go visit. And it doesn't take much to go to the Golden Gate, to stand around and see people take photographic pictures. It's a monument. And there's amazing bridges. I mean, there's all types of bridges that people have done. This one has something that's amazing. It's engineering-wise remarkable. It withstands earthquakes, incredible winds, the oscillation characteristics of those changing winds. So just from an engineering perspective, it's quite beautiful. But what's really remarkable is it has a beauty associated with it as well. Something remarkable there. So again, great achievements that have been done. But maybe it's a person. Maybe greatness isn't just an entity or a creation. There's greatness in people. Their accomplishments, they become renowned for it. Famous mathematicians, inventors of paper. You look around the room, all of that writing, to know that there was one person who first established this concept of, hey, I want to mark something down. The cavern wall isn't good. I'm going to create paper. I'm going to make it something portable. Beginning of technology. I mean, there's so much that we aspire to behind these people. They're as alive today in our minds, in our discussions, as they were during their time. And in fact, in some cases, people are more discussed. They're greater after their death than they ever were in their own life. So that's certainly greatness. Sometimes we look at it and we just say it's extreme achievement. The number of people who can do these things that no other can. We compete. Can I be better than everybody else? And behind these achievements really is a very competitive thing. I've scored more points. I've won more Tour de France's. I can kick a soccer ball into the net far more often than anybody else. And so greatness is defined as being better than others. Some people look at it this way. Certainly within the competitive environments that we see, paintball has some competitive aspects to it. Rank, number, record, achievement, these things help define great. Maybe it's beauty. Many of you know that I'm very passionate about art. I absolutely love music and these types of things. So you see some of these extremes, which is, there's a greatness, which is a melody that's so into a culture that it can never go away. It's the thing that stirs emotion. Bum, 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 bum. That opening to Tchaikovsky. Anytime I hear it, I kind of tear up a little bit. It's like, wow, it's a really powerful thing. But then there's something like, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Who invented that? That guy doesn't have the same sort of recognition as some of these other artists, but certainly there's greatness in that. Every single child in the United States at some point in their time is going to hear that one. Right? You'll hear it either through Twinkle, Twinkle or A, B, C, D. It's funny, if you actually look at it, there's so many different derived songs from that one little tune. They're catchy. So there's greatness there. We see it in modernity as well. Right? We see computers, the beauty of the Mac right now is extreme. I think it's something that's distinguished above all other computers that have been created so far in terms of the beauty. So it's achieved at a level of greatness. Sometimes greatness is much more simple. My mother is one of those people that for me is a great human being. I love this lady to the core of her being. I can attribute so much of what I've done in life, who I've become, my values to this person. She's not going to be recognized on the street by anybody. She's not going to die on the front page of any paper. There's not going to be a lament that's out there. But her greatness is far more important to me than any of the people that are known wide. That fireman who saves a child, who goes in and risks his life or her life, going into a blazing building, finding people, dragging them out of there, oftentimes to their own peril. There's an immense greatness to that achievement. For the person that they save, there is no other person that they will remember as well as that person who saved them in that moment. A great achievement, and again, a personal sacrifice. Putting yourself in harm's way, danger is behind that type of greatness. And sometimes it's just the wisdom of somebody who goes through life and makes it to a very, very large age, and just has that wisdom, that depth, that comfort in who they are. There's actually a Buddhist saying that I learned recently, which was, before enlightenment, what do? You meditate and you garden. After enlightenment, what do? You meditate and you garden. So sometimes achievement and greatness isn't even something that somebody can see. There's no change of behavior. There's no change of state. It's hidden inside them. Now, what if it's you? There may be a photographer, an artist, a musician, a technologist, a manager, an architect, a leader in this room who's just not there yet, not well known. There could be somebody here that you don't know who in their country of origin was great already, is well known. There was competitions that they had. I'll never forget this one person in web dev who was known as a childhood singer. He grew up and didn't sing anymore, but he was off in web dev, but he was famous in his country for his singing capabilities. He had achieved a remarkable thing and become great in that sense. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we pulled on one another's stories that there's somebody of greatness in this room. So, how does one become great? Is there a formula? I'm going to argue that there is somewhat of a formula. Now, greatness oftentimes comes with great exception, too. There are exceptional people. And oftentimes, more often than not, this myth that is innate, some people are just born great, but that's hogwash. I don't believe that at all. But some people have great fortune. And they were raised in an environment and everything came together just right. And that provided for them to be able to become great. But here's a formula that I've seen, I've read about in a wide variety of books, I've seen in others, I've studied under others, and so that's what I'm going to talk about today. So the very first thing to become great is to determine what does it mean? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to be better than other people? Are you competitive? Or are you trying to find that serenity that says you're at perfect peace? Do you want to create something of beauty that stands apart from you, that becomes known in and of itself, but maybe people don't remember the creator? You have to pick a goal. Because if you try to do everything well, you'll have done nothing well. So focus is very, very important in this regard. Find out what it is you want to do. Pick something. And that's very hard. I think actually the thing that holds back greatness more than anything else is people's reluctance to choose one thing, to choose a narrow thing. I'll confess, I have 86 instruments at home. I play on a wide variety of things, everything from tablas to doumbeks to violins to guitars to flutes, and I can make music on all of them. And I have a friend named Rummy, who one day came over and goes, "Could you just pick one and become very good at it?" I'm like, "No, I just like exploring them." So the only thing I've become good at with instruments is I can pick up nearly any instrument and get a sound out of it at this point. I know instruments, that's what I'm good at. But being good at any one has just been a choice that I couldn't make. But if I had I just chosen one instrument and spent the amount of time with that instrument that I've spent with all of them, I'm certain I would be masterful at that instrument. Instead, I'm a hack. My wife says it this way: I play on an instrument as opposed to I play an instrument. And that's true. But my choice was to explore. I found pleasure in that. But I won't become great at any instrument. Simply won't be, I won't have spent enough time to it. That choice is a hard one.